Mic check. Hello, hello. Is it working? Yes, it is. Awesome. All right, let me go ahead and switch over to the live screen. How you doing, guys? What's going on? Happy Monday. Yeah, woke up a little bit late today, but besides that, today's going great. As always, kind of still sitting in the same range, but a lot of speculation is coming from that. I can already see a lot of people falling prey to what I would consider the perfect bull trap at the moment. But as long as you got a solid plan backing it up, it is what it is. But let's go ahead and say hi. John, how you doing? What's up? Happy Monday. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Sammy Smith. Hey, Kite. How you doing, man? Absolutely fantastic. Uh, it sounds like a commercial. Absolutely fantastic. But no, I'm doing good, man. Andrew, hey, how you doing? Allie, hey, Kite, how are you, man? Absolutely fantastic. Mark Truth, hi, Kite, how you doing, man? What's going on? Happy Monday to you all, and let's go ahead and get started on this. So, we were looking at this last live stream. Obviously, we're still looking at the ascending wedge here. I marked out with a zone where this daily average resistance might be. So we can see the daily averages line up between 14,026 all the way back down to about 13,156. All right, you can see the, slanted double bottom over here. That's what's kind of giving us that zone. Didn't extend it all the way to the right just to kind of make it a little bit more clear when we look at the lower time frames. But we are starting to get a red candle on the daily chart. That's a good thing for me, obviously, because I'm sitting in a short. I was able to get a higher entry after we got wicked out the other night when we spiked up to 4,100. I saw somebody in the comments go, I told you shouldn't have shorted, but it's the way I play. And I've kind of shown how I play these ranges, and we're going to lose at some points. But more often than not, as long as we play the range, play it safely, we're going to come out on top. So, as always, we're still looking at the daily RSI. It's getting a massive turnaround. We're starting to get some really, really steep avalanche here on the daily divergence. Now, is there a chance that we possibly go ahead and get a bounce around the 55? That's the last place we really saw resistance. There is a chance for that, but more often than not, I'm looking for it to come all the way back down. Obviously, that's quite a bit away, and my estimation on where we would be if we do happen to hit that bottom would definitely be somewhere around 11,000 or mid 11,000s if we do happen to go a lot further over onto the diagonal support here of the ascending wedge. But besides that, everything is looking good on the daily. Nothing abnormal. If anything, if we did want to have continuation to the upside, I would think the daily would want to go back down and retest the 12,542 on average area. Makes sense to me, obviously, because that's the last local high. We do want to go back down and retest that. And I don't think the 1 hour is a good place for that to be retested. It has to happen on the daily averages. So let's go down to the 2 hour and see what's happening. Now, one thing that I wanted to highlight is just how similar these two previous ranges are. Let's go ahead and make that a little bit larger. But since this one does have a little bit smaller of a range, because we will get a lot of support off of that diagonal from the previous resistance, could be used as new support over here on the ascending wedge. So over here, when we pumped up into this range after the breakout from the 10,000 range, we had a very, 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 very similar setup. We had a nice diagonal, jump up, come down, retest, double bottom, come back up, yada, yada, yada. Over here, since it is a little bit smaller of a range, we don't have too much time until we start getting a lot of capitulation over here towards mid-December. It seems to be acting a little bit faster. All right, now with that being said, we did have the rejection last night off of this small double top on the 2 hour averages. It wasn't enough of a dip in the middle for it to really be that strong. But there might be a chance. Obviously, I'm not trying to force anybody into a short. If you're not in a short already, definitely wait for, the top of the range near 13,600 to 13, well, not 13,600, close to 13.8 is what I would probably be looking for a good short entry on. But there is a chance, very, very small one, for a little tiny head and shoulders here if it does want to start smoothing out on the averages here. But once this diagonal is broken, we should start sliding in the range a little bit. there should be a good couple trades until we start really hitting this diagonal if it is going to be used. So obviously from here, let's go ahead and guesstimate. I got to sneeze, but it's not coming out. Not happening. Oh, not happening. Okay. So let's say we got 1, maybe 2, and then maybe a third. Probably get a wick closer to this $13,100 area. And then obviously collect some profits. Once we start, if this does start to form like this, probably this will be my last trade, this long right here, if it does work out like that. Obviously, we play it by ear and see what the price action really wants to do. But with it shortening up in the range right here, there's really no significant reward for me scalping this. Obviously, I could shorten up my stop losses and all that good stuff, but I'm trying to play it a little bit safer. So if you guys are on the Telegram on that, obviously I'll be calling out when I enter those specific trades. Obviously, I'm looking for more of the macro play here, but if it does happen that this range is nice and tight, back and forth, it does have a good amount of leeway. From where we got our last entry, it was right about here. I believe I had about a 1.5% stop loss, if I'm not mistaken. So it's not the greatest risk-reward ratio in the world. Obviously, I like to look for 4s. But if this is what we got, this is what we got. So 3 back and forth. If we do get at least, 3 to 4 successful trades out of this one being the first, and then maybe 2 or 3 after this, and then possibly a couple failed trades in there, it would still end up being somewhere around 10% net profit. And then if we lose 2 of them, obviously that's going to be 6% net profit. Not the greatest that I would want to see. These previous ones, if you played them exactly like that, you would have got somewhere in the 50 to 60% range, not even including the breakout on those. So obviously this is going to be a little bit smaller. But that's kind of the go-ahead plan. Obviously, I'm looking at the daily averages to see if they break past that $14,000 mark. That's the most significant thing to me, at least. But obviously, if we do happen to break the range and I get stopped out, I do have to kind of let it chill and see what it's going to do. Obviously, if we come back down, might try to enter a long. I have to play the range. That's how we do things. But let's go ahead and start looking at some of the other altcoins. Talked enough about Bitcoin today. Obviously, we always check in on Ethereum, see what it's doing. We'll check out the smaller time frames a little bit because I do see something shaping up in particular. A lot of people have been pointing it out as well. But I do think there's a lot of validity to it. So there is a possible chance for a double bottom on the small time frames over here at about the 379. But more importantly, this smaller macro pattern on the 2-hour, if you look at the horizontal off of this left shoulder, you can see that's where we're starting to collect some support. And this possibly could turn into a inverse head and shoulders. If this does happen to work out this way, we could assume that our target should be anywhere between here, anywhere between here, here, or here. So we're just going to go in the middle. That seems pretty good for me. Get rid of that extended line. And that would give us a possible target of about $556, so $556. Obviously, we could go a lot further. I am on logarithmic here. But you guys know I'm looking at particularly the 490 as a resistance. And if we can get above that on the macros, we do have a possible chance to go up and test 800. That would be absolutely fantastic. Who knows how long that would take. But macro-wise, that is the one resistance that we're looking at in order for us to see continuation to the upside massively. Obviously, we have some smaller ones in the middle here. We do have a resistance at 605, smaller resistance at 534, which is kind of lining up where we might get our first breakout too. But nonetheless, local highs, those lead the way in terms of macro support and resistance. So the next one would be 804. Obviously, I'm still in a macro trade. I'm not really looking to scalp this. I have a lot on the line here just because Ethereum is one of my bigger plays for what could be an upcoming bull run. So with us still sitting above the horizontal of 337, that pretty much is all I care about. So if that does happen to break, that would be a very, very sad day. Would lose a little bit of money, but we'll just patiently wait for re-entry. And like I displayed on the previous live streams, us going down might not necessarily be a bad thing. Obviously, we want to hold the horizontal of a double bottom, but with the prominent diagonal here coming off the last local highs, and kind of making some confluence over here around the 442 mark, which is where we saw our previous rejection. We might want to go back down and retest that, and hopefully start building some more validity to what I have this little logarithmic curve marked out here. Obviously, it doesn't have enough validity for me to say that it's, stable and it's perfect, but, we're just trying to guesstimate at the current moment. And with it kind of lining up for capitulation and then breakout above the horizontal, if we do happen to go back below it at 337, lining up around July, just like a lot of other altcoins on their price action, and then Bitcoin looking for capitulation on RSI and then breakout around July. So kind of lines up too perfectly for me to not keep it there for right now. We'll see if it holds as those dates come. We'll check out XMR. Let's see if it's still holding its horizontal. Absolutely, still holding that horizontal at 115, 117, depending on how you look at it. Let's go down to the lower time frames. Now, this one, not exactly how we want it to look. Now, we have seen actual head and shoulders break out to the upside before. Don't know if we'll see it here, but you can see that we do have a head and shoulders at the current moment. So if we do happen to stay below the 128 resistance, that could be bad for Monero. But nonetheless, as long as it holds above the 115 support, I'm perfectly fine holding my long off of that. Now, I don't have a long off of it. I don't margin trade a lot of these other altcoins besides the ones that are on Bybit. But I do have a good position opened up on that. Now, I still have a lot of positions that I opened up down here as well as we started climbing up. One of those more prominent positions was at $64, the break of the $64 range. So I think it was either around $70 or at $64 exactly. So I'm good either way, as long as it falls down, not too much. So that's one of the coins I'm particularly waiting on, making a break for it, trying to get away from the system. But let's go ahead and take a look at XLM, and then we'll take a look at Litecoin, see how that's shaping up. Since we are starting to look at a lot of the macros from day to day, they're not going to look that significantly different, but I'll make sure to check in on the smaller time frames, just trying to show you guys what, I possibly could see as a play. XLM does look like we're in a little bit of a macro head and shoulders, not macro, but you guys know a larger pattern than these smaller ranges. Now, we do seem to have a rounded top over here, head and shoulders, could be leading into our first retest of about 66.1 cents. Down here, you can see that's the support. We're finding a rejection off of the previous high over here from the left shoulder. So that would be our first place to retest. Now, if it did happen to break through that, we do have to call for the larger target of about 3.1 cents. But there's a lot of places where it could stop in between there. Obviously, we have this flip-flop region around here, which we found a larger support off of back here in December of 2019. And also, it was used as resistance and then support here. So that could be a possible place where it does turn around. But obviously, we got to wait to see if it does break this support first. All right, moving on from that, we'll take a look at Digibyte. People talk about that. Digibyte still traveling along in this gigantic descending wedge that we marked out a couple days ago. Well, actually, about a week ago. You can see we're starting to find support off of it as well. Now, this is actually pretty close to breaking out here soon. So you can do this one of two ways. You can either wait for a break of the diagonal, which I don't think I would in particular. Most importantly, I would wait of a break of the diagonal as well as a break of this horizontal around 2.1 cents. After that, I'll probably insert some capital. And then your next major resistance is going to be about 2.81 cents. So that's a good bit of distance there. It's about 35%. Wouldn't be too bad of a play. Now, obviously, I don't have any, price targets for a Digibyte bull run. I just don't think that's my place to talk about. Obviously, I'm talking about stuff that has previous, inclinations on what they might be or could be. And then obviously Bitcoin has a lot. We have the stock to flow, all that good stuff, telling us what, we should expect. But if the 20K bull run was anything to be learned from, you might want to expect just a little bit more. But could work the other way around. Could always expect a little bit less. Just be on the conservative side of things. Kite, learning all this market ciphers, saying buy right now. Don't know anything about that. Obviously, my market cipher subscription is out. If there's a green dot, I would ask you what time frame it's on. If you got a green dot on, like the 6 hour or the daily, I would say, okay, that's a significant sign. But if it's a green dot on like a 1 hour, I'm just going to say there's a little bit more to it than that. All right. Actually, let me go up in the chat real quick. Stuart, hi Kite, hi guys. How you doing, man? What's going on? Never settles. Taco up, taco down. Exactly, man. That's how we do it. Hey Kite, did you vote? No, I have not yet. Don't know if I will. Obviously, a lot of people say go and vote. And, I really don't care either way. I kind of live in my own bubble. And obviously, go echo chamber. I don't care who's candidate. Obviously I don't support some ideals of Trump, don't support some ideals of Biden. And it just feels like you're kind of settling either way. I do like Trump and some of the stuff he has done, but obviously the character of the man's not the best. From obviously I'm not going to get into all this. It's just I don't really care at this point. It's not. They say if you don't vote, you can't complain about the elections. I'm not going to complain anyways. I really don't care. I really don't. Hi Kite and crew, crazy kangaroo. What's going on, man? Glad to see you, man. Never sells PewDiePie promoted ETH. We are in the mainstream now. That's awesome. I didn't know he did that. I saw on an article last night, somebody in the previous live stream mentioned something about John McAfee saying Bitcoin's going to go to 1 million. Obviously, he's been saying that for many, many years. I did not know that John McAfee was in jail right now. Obviously, I think he's in a Mexican jail or in Spain. I don't know which one it was. I could be completely wrong on both of those. And he's waiting for extradition. But I don't know. Just still tweeting from a jail cell is kind of blowing my mind here. Why didn't Jeffrey Epstein get that chance? I think one of his tweets said, if I end up committing suicide, just know that it wasn't me. I thought that was hilarious. I still can't get over how they could do that right in front of our faces. It doesn't cause anybody to, have massive riots. I'm not voting LOL. That's what I'm saying, man. Obviously, it is what it is. One of them's going to win. I know there's a person or like a company or organization or whatever that's been right they've been right 25 out of 27 times, and they're predicting Trump is going to win with like, mid 300s. My friend brought this up to me last night, what he thinks could happen. So he's saying that comparative to 2016, the secret Trump voter is even more severe than it was in 2016. So he's saying he could possibly win by a landslide, and then they're going to contest the election because there hasn't been a president that's won by that many electoral votes in a long time. And he said there's going to be fucking riots and all this stuff. You know what? I live kind of in the in-between zone where I'm not a major city, and I'm not completely rural. And there was protests in my city at one point, and there, even got on Tuckerson or whatever that dude's name is, where they broke this lady's car and smashed glass all over this child's face that was in the back seat. But I don't think my house is going to get burned down. I saw videos of them boarding up, boarding up Washington, D.C., getting ready for riots. I don't know, man. World's losing its mind. Ugh. Hey, Kite. Good to see you live again. Keep it up. Absolutely, man. I'm actually feeling really good, and I might try to, do a smaller live stream tomorrow as well. Obviously, I want to keep up with this range. Just kind of be on top of everything because, on my days off, I do check the charts a little bit, but, obviously I have a price alert set up on the top of the range and a price alert set up on the bottom of the range. Other than that, I don't really check it. My particular scalp, if you want to call this, scalp take profit off of the short from up here, I have that about 13,183, which unfortunately last night when we did wick down, it did not wick down far enough. It got pretty dang close, but not far enough. Probably should give it a little bit more of a, whatchamacallit, spacer off of that support. Krypton, what's going on, buddy? Robert, how you doing? I love you, brother. So glad to have you back. Thanks for the stream. Absolutely, Crypto Addicted Snurf. I think that's such a cool name. I appreciate it, man. I'm glad to be back. Don't know. I'm gonna have to find something to do with the music because I was reading into a little bit of like the YouTube algorithm, and if you're consistently getting demonetized, you might not have as much, algorithmic traffic towards your live streams or your videos. So I don't know if I'll have it all the time, but I'll try to find something to replace it with because I a live stream without music it doesn't sound right to me at least. I streamed on Twitch for many years playing video games, always had music no matter what. It's just kind of a part of it. If you don't like two, why not vote smaller party? There is that, but I could throw in the hat for like Kanye or somebody else, but the chances of them winning are so slim. It's like, why even waste your time going to the polls? That's just kind of my thing. And obviously, I like to think that I have a genuine small grasp on politics and what I believe should happen, but I still think that a 20-year-old should not have a say in what the hell goes on and that kind of stuff. Obviously, that's a whole another conversation itself. I live in my own bubble. I have my own knowledge. And obviously, there's a lot of things that are outside that scope. And for me to sit here and try to, say this is what should happen with the entire country, it just doesn't make sense to me. I was talking to one of my buddies. I said, the president has to be somebody that doesn't want to be president. A person that's running for president has such a large ego, and they kind of just want to push their own, their party or their own political ideologies. I think this is a little bit Orwellian for me, but if there was anything that could do it, I think they should scan the population for the highest IQ person, the smartest person when it comes to politics, foreign policy, whatever it might be, a good all-arounder, and then show up to their house, offer them a large sum of money and say, hey, we know you don't want to be president, but you're a good candidate. You want to be president for like 4 years? And then they do what they do, and then we go on to the next one. It's kind of like winning the lottery, except if the lottery sucked and made you lose your hair. I don't know. I'm just shit talking right now. Don't take this seriously. I just thought it was a funny idea. My birthday is tomorrow. It's getting overshadowed by the election. That's how I felt every single year. But it was kind of cool because usually I don't get my birthday off when I was at school because it's November 8th. You're coming up here shortly as well. And it was cool because it usually landed on either a Thursday or a Friday. So I usually didn't get a day off for my birthday. But whatchamacallit, usually having the 3rd be, a day off of school because they usually use my high school as the voting polls was pretty cool. And I got the weekend after that. Just seen a Chico video. He was saying if smaller party gets 5% of the vote, they get federal funding for the next run at it. Oh, that's pretty cool. I don't know. I don't know how much more federal funding they can get. But I don't know. But I listened to Kanye on Joe Rogan's podcast, and despite him being even more ADHD than I am, he was actually pretty coherent in what he was saying. And, I think he might honestly have a shot at running, and possibly even winning president. It's not unheard of that a personality from celebrity culture comes along and wins president. It happened. It happened. Great. Going to going by boat to meet the crypto crew. Okay, I don't know what island that is, but hopefully it's not Epstein's island. All right. I don't think that island can be called anything else now. Like if Epstein's island was Hawaii, I don't think Hawaii would be called Hawaii anymore. It'd just be Epstein's island. All right, so let's take a look at LTC, see where that's sitting at. All right, so we're looking at the 6 hour here. Let's go down to a 2 hour time frame. All right, possible double bottom off of that. That's actually lining up pretty good. This actually looks like it could inverse head and shoulders out of here, to be honest. If we do continue to hold this horizontal, you can see that LTC does have a little bit of an inverse head and shoulders, coming up here. And this could be used either way. Maybe a lot of people are looking at the inverse head and shoulders, but hidden inside of it, there's the macro trend line, and then possibly leading up into a descending triangle, seeing a breakdown, possibly down to the $43 range, and then kind of turning back around there. But this could be a launching pad for us to break through this macro resistance of this gigantic wedge. And previously on Litecoin, the show, let's see, Bitfinex. Litecoin does seem to like its capitulations and then has massive breakouts. I'm not saying that that's going to be the same case this time around. Maybe this was just a general hype from the last bull market, frenzy bull market. Maybe this will be a little bit more slow and methodic, but I wouldn't take a chance on it. I would probably wait for the diagonal to break, go ahead and insert some capital. Particularly for me, I'm looking to insert my capital around $70. I think that's a good place to go ahead and do it, just because we would be breaking the macro diagonal, and we would be a little bit above this first local high, and then obviously we would probably get trapped between the 82 if we do want to kind of scrounge our way up here. But yeah, those are the only 4 resistances and supports in our way after we break that macro diagonal downtrend. Hawaii, always Hawaii. Epstein Island was the same location SpongeBob SquarePants had on his driver's license. Oh, that's a little bit strange. Can you look at Tezos, please? Give me some good news on the coin. What's the ticker for it? Or can I just look up Tezos? I guess I can just look up Tezos. I'll do Tethers. It's a little bit hard. It's a little bit hard to categorize. Let's see if this lines up right here. Obviously, we could use that as a possible diagonal. Let's look at some of the indicators. What are the indicators telling us? Let's look at the RSI. Actually, more importantly than that, let's look at the MFI. Oh, MFI is actually bottoming out here. It's starting to get some support. So I mean, we could see a turnaround here. That makes sense with the diagonal here. We do have a nice horizontal right here off of these 2 rejections. So we could use that as a possible support around this region. And we possibly, we wicked right down to it. So that makes a little bit of sense. Obviously we have a flip-flop region around here. Possible rejection region. And then I just kind of call this a range right here. So it looks like to me, if we don't, obviously just have a skyrocket, this is going to end up looking like a gigantic ascending wedge, which is actually pretty cool because that allows us to get, somewhat of a nice target off of it. So, I mean, obviously, if we're looking at this as an ascending wedge, not ascending wedge, ascending triangle, that would give us a generalized target. First off, of about $7.30. I know a lot of people go, well, if you're going to draw targets this large off the macro time frame, you can't have logarithmic on. But I don't think that would change things much, to be honest. No, it doesn't. It goes to pretty much the same place. So, I mean, I think that's pretty decent right there. Obviously, past that point, we'll see where we can go from there. Uh, let's go look at what I haven't looked at what the MFI looks like um, on Bitcoin on the macros when it came to the previous bull market. I'm actually curious on that. Just give me 1 second. Actually, yeah. I mean, that works out just as well as the RSI. If you guys don't know what the MFI directive is, um, it's pretty much money flow index also combined with RSI, which I think is awesome because it gives you a very, very stable trend indicator. You know how we like to look for the 50, getting a bounce or a rejection off of that? That's pretty much what this is. So we can see we got a bounce off the 50 back here when the bull market started, came back down, retested it. And once we got a rejection off of it, which was off of this double top right here, that could have been your indicator to pull out of the market. But obviously, you should be pulling out little bits by bits on the way up. And you can see over the past couple of years, we got a bounce off of it back here. Recently got another bounce off of it here. We got a bounce off of it over here. We're starting to top out, so we can either continue off of this or we're going to see a rejection around the 57. We do have a little bit of room on the daily though, so that could be a cause for concern on my short. But other than that, we're looking pretty good. You can see a massive bearish divergence off of that right there. Covesting, please, ticker COV. We'll check on that. You said you sold yours at 37 cents. Oh, I can just tell by the exchanges this on. This is a very low cap coin. Major resistance sitting at about 4,650 Satoshis. Bottoming out support. Hopefully a diagonal support building here. We are above the 50 on the MFI, although it doesn't hang around it on the 50 all too often. We would probably want to see it break past the 13 on the MFI if we want to see anything major. I do like how flat these supports and resistances are. You can see that's a pretty defining range, and then we have the breakout to the top, create the head and shoulders, break down. But yeah, hopefully this does turn into a diagonal support. Obviously, when it comes to these smaller coins, I really can't talk a whole lot about them and put my neck out on them. Obviously, nothing I say is financial advice. I'm a 20-year-old kid on the internet, about to be 21 years old, so I can legally drink. Although I don't drink anyways, it's not my cup of tea. I hate drinking, to be honest. But yeah, hopefully this does turn into a diagonal support. Let's see. Let's go to the regular RSI, see if there's anything standing out to us. It does look like we're hitting horizontal resistance on the RSI at about 80. Not particularly a good sign. I don't see any diagonal that I could call for a bullish convergence off of. Yeah, man, I don't know. Obviously, if you're just playing this off of horizontals, your support region is here. We have flip-flop, we have resistance, support, support, support back here. So we're looking at about 1,878 Satoshis. But yeah, pretty much if you want to reinsert any of your money, it'd probably be around 4,681 Satoshis, a break of that. And then obviously probably take a little bit of profit at 7,611 Satoshis. More importantly, what you want to see on this coin, it does have a chance for an inverse head and shoulders. Never really seen that be the starting point of a coin, so I can't really tell you what to expect. But if you did happen to get above the 7,611 Satoshi range, and then go ahead and bottom out on that, you got a nice little smiley face, and then possibly trajectory off of that. Once you break your all-time high, you're good. So just go ahead and mark out these supports and resistances and then insert your capital when you think the time is right. Just the main point is, if you want to be ultra safe, you've got to wait for this resistance to break, but you could insert a small amount once the 4,682 Satoshi range breaks. I just want to go too crazy there. It just doesn't make sense with that strong of a resistance standing in your way. Said ship coin. Hey, Bitcoin was a ship coin at one time. All right. you can't say they're all shit. But you know, it is what it is. But yeah, we're looking good. We're starting to bottom out on the RSI on the 2 hour. So we would be looking for a possible retest or a rejection off of one of these previous supports on the RSI. But yeah, that's what I'm kind of doing right now. I have the larger trade set up off of the $13,780 region. One of them is looking for us to come all the way back down to 11,100. That's what I'll probably be expecting because I do think this was a little bit of a pump up to create a trap to go ahead and add some liquidity down here because I think it would make a lot more sense in my head, at least. Obviously, we're not looking for sense. We're just looking for what the market does and trying to follow along because we're all just hooligans. But a inverse head and shoulders around here would look a lot more stable. Obviously, you could say, well, we did get the inverse head and shoulders. We had a little thingy right here. That's not enough for me. That's not enough for me. But that would go ahead and act as a launching pad. Obviously, I'm looking for major capitulation all the way up until, around July, towards the 16.8 16.8 resistance, and then go ahead and trickle down from there. Obviously, that could take a whole lot of time. We could break out to the upside there. Who knows? I think it would be a really good thing if we did have the major capitulation all the way up and then have a breakout to the upside, because that would look very, very strong to a lot of traders. It would be, the perfect time to go ahead and, start inserting all your major capital, institutions and all that good stuff. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. We talked about XMR, Litecoin, Ethereum, Digibyte, XTZ. I think we checked out XLM. So any more coins anybody want before we go ahead and head off? We've been live for about 42 minutes now. We can sit and talk for a little bit as well. If anybody just wants to throw out a subject to talk about, hear my nonsense being spouted about it. God, I have my own thoughts here. I don't have any music. See if I can find like a copyright free thing. Probably gonna be absolute garbage. I've heard this before. I doubt this is non-copyright. Yeah, like I said, I do feel like pretty soon I will be starting the whole week live stream schedule. I don't know if I'll change the times that I stream right away. Maybe we'll see if we can hold a whole week schedule for a little bit, and I'll go ahead and change Tuesday and Thursdays to an earlier time or later time, depending on what the I might put out like a little vote system, see what you guys want. Absolutely. We'll go back and check at those. So we talked about this earlier in the live stream, but it does look like a possibility on the lower time frames for Litecoin to have a breakout above the macro trend. Obviously, we looked at this two different ways. We're looking at the possibility of, could this be a trick? Could this be, okay, they want us to see a inverse head and shoulders and bet on it when the reality might be, obviously, if we were to go one way or the other and say which one is more likely, I would have to say the descending triangle. Although I went the complete opposite way when it came to Bitcoin's, macro downtrend line. I said we were going to break it. But just from principle, I could say this turns into a descending triangle, and then we have a breakout to about $43. But if you want to be the optimist, you would have to see us continue to hold the $53 region. If we can continue to hold that for an extended period of time, and then see us break above $63 on the lower time frames, I would say that is pretty much kicked off. We would start looking for, I would start looking for inserting my capital around, $70 to $75 and kind of just hold on to it from there, as long as we don't, do anything drastic. But that's Litecoin for you. Hopefully that was a good enough of an explanation. We'll go ahead and take a look at Link, because I don't think we've taken a look at that at all today. So Link, we're still following this diagonal here, kind of just climbing up. Next major resistance to break on Link would be about $13. If we can break that, we're in kind of a similar situation. We could be using this diagonal as a possible ascending triangle to go ahead and break up above $13, and then possibly turn this into, what do you know, a possible inverse head and shoulders as well, with a massive target off of that nonetheless. And this could continue climbing. We could possibly be looking at this diagonal as, our definitive support for the macro bull run. Who knows? Obviously, Link is kind of leading the way when it comes to coins that have broke out above all-time highs, unless I think we saw this earlier. Nope. Yeah, that's what I thought. Actually, that's not too bad. You can see there's even more cause for what this could possibly be. You can see gigantic inverse head and shoulders possibly. Obviously, the macro resistance that you would want to see break is $13. We do have a little bit of resistance here. Macro resistance, so it's not a little bit, at $14, so we might kind of range between there for a while. But once we break past that, we go ahead and have some resistance at 16, and then 17, and then obviously past that, then we're actually in price discovery. I would hope so. Looking at these, condensed charts really doesn't give me a whole lot of room. Nice diagonal there that we could use to possibly turn this into a smaller ascending triangle. But ultimately, I think that's a really good idea right there. So it could possibly have a little bit more slippage when it comes to Link. We could go all the way back down to $10.36, which would be unfortunate for some people. But you could see that as a buying opportunity. So either way you look at it. Can I ask about your opinion on XRP? Absolutely. I'm not the biggest proponent of XRP because, obviously it's bank run, but I can't deny that there's going to be money in it. And obviously where there's money, I'm going to be. I talked about why I'm in Monero. And, whether you agree with it or not, I think that's a valid excuse for supporting a coin. And so let's talk about XRP when it comes to technical analysis. Well, not just my general sentiment. So XRP, we're looking at a massive capitulation along this diagonal here. We could have a breakout any time now. But end of capitulation would be around March, early March. Solid support sitting around the 22.2 cents mark. So we could possibly come back down to retest that. Hopefully, if we do hold that, that would turn into a double bottom, which could start shooting us back up to these ranges over here, which obviously we would be held down by the diagonal over here. But when it comes to inserting capital for like a macro bull run, you would most likely want to look at this region here, 32 cents. So anything past 32.4 cents, that would be a break of the diagonal, not only, but as well as that, many local highs from the past. We have one right here. And then obviously our next major resistance would be at 47 cents. So the percentage difference between that is 46%. So that wouldn't be too bad off the bat if you want to kind of shave off a little bit by bit and then, possibly pick it back up on the bottom support. But yeah, that's what I would be looking for if I was looking to just buy and hold this. Is Chainlink different from Link? I don't think so, right? Which one of these would have the most? I would assume. You tell me Bitstamp just got into Chainlink? That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Usually they're the first ones in everything. We'll look at Binance. All right. It's 6 hour first. We have a solid diagonal right here, which is what we're kind of falling back down onto. Unfortunately, as long as we stay below the $11.56 region, there is the possibility for head and shoulders. But first, we would have to see it break that diagonal. Looking for any larger patterns that could be optimistic on this. But it does seem like it's a good region for us to find support anyways. You can see this is a flip-flop region, and that's what you're looking for when you're looking for significant support and resistance. You have support, resistance. So for us to fall back down onto this and hopefully go ahead and get a bounce off of it, that would be pretty good. Next major resistance is going to be at $12.81. Let's see where the wicks ended up on that. Usually I don't like to look at wicks, but with that being a flip-flop region, I want to see where they kind of meet in the middle. All right, so we're looking at 13.22 cents. Okay. That seems like a good little thing here. If anything, if it does continue to follow this diagonal, we would be looking at a ascending triangle. And if we can break past that, we can possibly get back up to these numbers up here. So we'll call that somewhere in the middle. Actually, we'll just call it the high here. Why not? We're looking at $19. Now, what could this turn into? You know, I talk about how trading is a puzzle, and you got to think about what the next puzzle piece might be. And sometimes there's multiple different things that could happen from one to the next puzzle. So you have to look at all the options and figure out which one might be the most likely. So already we have a possible inverse head and shoulders on the smaller time frames, as well as that we could have a possible macro head and shoulders on the higher time frames. All right, and that could be continuous to propel us forward. If that does happen, this would be a possible target here. And that would lead us up to our next possible resistance of about $25. So when it comes to Chainlink, it looks pretty good. We do have multiple positive outcomes. Obviously, if we do break that diagonal, wouldn't be too good of a thing. If we did break that diagonal, we'd probably be looking at this as a possible support. $8.53, possibly. Even if we do fall down to $7, that's not the best thing, because that could turn into, what could that turn into? Possible head and shoulders. All right, so that could bring us even further down. Obviously, don't try to rush a lot of these altcoins in thinking that they're just going to continuously pump up. Obviously, they got to take time to retest, build ranges, build support for what could possibly be the bottom of a bull market. But with everything kind of lining up around July, I wouldn't really expect any major movement until then. Obviously, we're going to climb, but it's not going to be blasted off. All right, even though Chainlink did break an all-time high and had a massive up run, pretty good one as well from that last local high. That was what, 271%. Nothing to scoff at. What's up, Kite? Sorry, baby boo. What it do? Thanks, man. Thanks for bringing that back. It do good. It do good. It do excellent. How you, man? Thanks, man. You're awesome. By the way, welcome back. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. We've been back, baby. We've been consistent for what, 2.5 weeks now? Something like that. But thank you nonetheless. Kite, are you still holding your ETH long at around 331? Absolutely. That is one of my larger plays. Obviously, I'm not going to get into the details, but that is one of my more significant plays, leverage plays at least, for what could be an upcoming bull run. Obviously, I'm looking at that as a massive double bottom with the horizontal being around 337. So as long as that continues to hold, I'm continuously holding my long off of that as well. I really feel good. Obviously, it could turn the opposite way. That would be very, very unfortunate. But nonetheless, Either way it turns out, I can always reinsert my capital. It's something that I've already kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Something I've already, God, why is that slipping my mind? English is so hard sometimes, I'm sorry. Something that I've already prepared for in my mind, that if we do happen to lose that $337 support, that's why I'm talking about some of the positive outcomes. Like it could just be a retest down to this diagonal. We find support off of it sometime around here. But yeah. All right, but with that being said, guys, I appreciate your time tonight. As always, happy Monday. Go out and vote, even though I'm not doing it. If you want to go ahead and see your candidate in office, obviously. Also be prepared if you live in any major cities, just in case the wrong candidate wins. Obviously, there is no wrong candidate. I'm not on either side, but the wrong candidate for some other people. I'm sure there'll be some uproar. And for the following months, obviously, the news channels are going to run all those crazy stories again. But I appreciate it. Thank you very much, guys. As always, in the description, you'll find many links. One of them is the Bybit affiliate link. If you guys want to sign up under that, that will do one of two things. One, it will allow me to support giveaways for the channel, as well as that small amount of fees go to that. You're pretty much contributing as well. So thank you if you do that. As well as that, there is the Patreon group. You can always join the Telegram if you want to. Obviously, like I said, we're going to be focusing a lot more on the macro, but if I do see some specific ranges that are holding well and we can't take some scalps off of them, I will call those out as well. And as well as that, you can always hit me up for lessons on either Patreon or Discord. I do offer those, and they're pretty intricate. We like to start off simple, just go through a lot of different basic strategies to get you up on your feet. But with that being said, I do appreciate it, guys. As always, stay safe, trade safe as well, man. There's not enough time left to be risking your capital in useless ways, so trade safe. That is the most important thing that I can say here tonight. Don't get too crazy with your risk. And I think I need to re-upload the link to the risk calculator if you guys don't have that, because that's always a great tool. Simon, see you, man. See you. I'll see you guys. Like I said, if I do feel good enough tomorrow to go ahead and hop on for maybe 30 minutes, maybe 15 minutes, if nothing significant has changed. I don't think it's going to be as intricate as the Monday, Wednesday, Friday live streams. Maybe just a little checkup. I might hop on, so look out for that. But as always, we'll be back on Wednesday and Friday, 6 p.m. EST. I don't know what to say to that emoji. Is that sanitation? Or is that lotion? It's a little bit weird if it's lotion. Gabriel, thanks. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for showing up. Mark Truth, thanks, Kite. Take care. You too, man. You too. Oh, let me, before I go, I missed your question, Brennan. Let's go ahead and talk about Vechain just real quick before we go ahead and head out. Vechain, it's finding a double bottom support off of the previous rejection. Good sign, good sign. As well as that, off the last local high. So I mean, that's actually really positive for Vechain. Obviously, the averages aren't sitting that high. We could always go back down a little bit lower. But yeah, I would say the most significant support resistance at the current moment would have to be the 1 cent mark. A little bit on the nose. It looks like we got either, you can call this a descending wedge, or you could call this a bull flag. So either way you see it, as long as we get a double bottom and break this diagonal, could be very, very good for Vechain. Possibly looking to go back up and retest the 2.2 cent mark. Does that line up with any macro support and resistance? Actually, it does. Around this region, this little flip-flop region. Support, resistance. And past that point, you'll be looking pretty good. Only one more major resistance at 2.6 cents before you can see any major takeoff. Obviously, that's a little bit of time away. We're looking at the 6-hour time frame right now, so we're not rushing anything. When it comes to smaller time frames, let's look at the 2-hour. You could possibly get a rejection, at first off of the 1.18 cent mark. Next major support resistance is going to be at 1.55, and obviously the macro at 2 cents. So hopefully that clears some things up. All right, guys, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. I'll see you guys on maybe Tuesday, maybe tomorrow, but most definitely on Wednesday at 6 p.m. EST. So watch out for that. I'll see you guys there. As always, take care. I appreciate it. Thank you very much, guys. Goodbye.
What can I do, baby? 2 weeks without see you, I can't wait so long. What can I do, baby? Can't stand, 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 can't stand.